I am a trained taxonomist. That's these types that put names on plants and don't do anything with them. But I graduated into being an economic botanist, which is someone who puts it to practice. And early on, it was just the food plants that I was interested in. This Chapel Hill professor, Dr. Richie Bell, took me on a trip to Latin America, my first trip to Latin America. And we crisscrossed Mexico studying, he was collecting chromosomes of all things, of plants. And then we went crisscrossed Mexico, then we flew into Guatemala and did some botanizing in Guatemala. And then we flew into Costa Rica and did some botanizing with his friends in Costa Rica. And that was a full summer, but wisely he dropped me off at the Missouri Botanical Garden for what we would now call a postdoc. But this was to get me experience with a bigger organization. The Missouri Botanical Garden is one of the major botanical gardens in the world. And that was very wise, and it did give me a more cosmopolitan view of the role of botany, not just the weeds I'd studied in North Carolina, but plants of the world. Finally, I got to Panama with Dr. Woodson's permission, and I got off the plane. I wanted to get back on because I didn't recognize plants in 3 dimensions. I'm used to them all flattened out in the herbarium. And once I got back from Panama, I had a new idea about the identification of these plants, and I never got along well with my professor there after, because we didn't see eye to eye. Because of my short stint in Panama, I was invited to go to Panama to work on a sea level canal survey. This was too good to be true, because once you tasted the tropical botany, it's hooking. We were to study the ethnic groups in the area near Colombia, which is least populated. And that's when I became an ethnobotanist, before I knew the word ethnobotany, because I was living with the Choco Indians. You can't live with the San Blas Indians. You live near them and visit them. They don't tolerate gringos very much. And I live with the blacks, which occupy most of the villages there, but the Indians are up on the rivers. Their whole medicine chest was the forest. The forest's the best for your medicine chest, is my belief to this day. And I had a couple of right-hand guys, blacks from Darien, Panama, and motormen, and we had our own boat, and we would go up these rivers. And with the Choco Indians, they're the friendliest people in the world. That's why they won't be with us long. You just pull up your boat and offer them a cigarette, and they'll give you eggs and a place to hang your hammock, and you can observe them medicating and eating. And that was my job, to find out what they were eating from the environment. I've written papers on what the Choco Indians ate, on what the Kuna Indians ate, and what they used for medicine. When I saw that they were using a plant for a medicine, I would get down in the best Spanish I could get what they were using it for, and then I would take a newspaper-sized specimen of the plant and flatten it out in a plant press. Frequently we would get several copies of the same specimen, and we would send it to other agencies interested in the flora of Panama, and they could help speed up the identification. They're specialists. I'm so happy to say I've got 7 years in Latin America and less than a year in all of Europe. That's the ratio I would prefer. Botanists, I think, like it. They like to be where things aren't so civilized. At least this botanist does.